Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today I'm excited to be highlighting something that I actually released into the wild 3 days ago on the channel, and you can find it in my community tab. You can also find it in the pinned comment and video description. They are links that will take you to the annual survey, which has been released for the Rolling Solo board game community, which is an awesome feedback mechanism, not only for myself to see where the community sits with games, but also to be able to send those results back out to the community to show you guys what the community is saying overall in terms of solo games, which I think is just a lot of fun to do every single year. Now, this year I have changed some things, and I think I've changed them for the better. And there's a number of reasons for that. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but first, let me just show you where you can find this. So if you don't see the link to the survey in this video description or pinned comment, then I'm a fool and I haven't put it in there, but it should be in there. If you see it there, click it, you go jump right in, you'll see this form off to the left. We'll talk about this form in a second. But if you don't see it in this video for some weird reason, go to the community tab on my YouTube channel, and it's the very first post there. You'll see a link right at the very top. That'll get you in. Now, also, if you take a look across all my social media, whether it's the the Discord server, the Rolling Solo Facebook group, Twitter, Instagram, whatever other social media accounts I've got, you're going to find links to it there too, because I splashed across all of my social media as of 3 days ago, and I've already got a whole bunch of submissions in. So this video is really serving to kind of bring this survey even more to light to individuals that have in the past not been able to actually vote for this. And I'll explain that in a second, and also just to make it, general awareness of it. So now let's talk about the survey. So why are we using Google Forms? Well, I actually pinged my Discord server and bounced some things off them, because I was saying, every single year I've always placed this particular survey inside of my Rolling Solo Facebook group, which always seemed like a decent idea, and I got lots of engagement and it seemed really great. But there were quirks about it that I really didn't like. And I mean, like most social media networks, it's like you have to have a Facebook account. So let's say 50% of people do now, because really not everybody does as much as they used to. And so you've already lost a whole bunch of people just with that swipe. And then second up, those people have to be in the Rolling Solo Facebook group. So that's another barrier. So you've got two layers of barriers just to get to the survey. And then once you're in the survey, you have to submit it. So you have to take the time to actually submit it. So I've really kind of layered things in a way that maybe isn't the best representation of the community as a whole. It's done a great job of capturing the Facebook group individuals' feedback over time. But Discord people that maybe aren't on Facebook are like, what about us? Like, what do we do? And then there's people on YouTube, which is the large majority of the subscribers of this entire channel, that might not have either Discord or the Facebook group. And they're like, well, how do we respond to anything? So this is the solution. The solution is to move to Google Forms. So now when you come here, it's a centralized place. The only thing you need to have is a Gmail account. That's literally it. And that's all. And then from there, you just are simply filling out the form and submitting done. And the great thing about this one is it's going to make sure that when you're submitting things, you can't see the results of anything as you're doing it. So you can't accidentally kind of like, submit something, look and be like, oh, okay, interesting. Those are the results. I'll just change my stuff. Facebook is notorious for that. Polls, like you'll actually respond to a poll, it'll give you the results and you can look at it and be like, I don't know. Like I never like that. I always like the idea of like getting the results in first and then giving the information out after. It makes the whole thing a much more exciting surprise later on. And also it's far more useful because people can't manipulate the data based on what they see in the results as the poll is literally running. So anyway, let's get back to this. So there are 4 questions on this particular survey. There were 2 that are always asked every single year. I've added 2 additional ones. So the ones you see every single year, the first one is, what are your top solo board games of 2023 that are released in 2023? They have to be a core game. There's no expansions mentioned here, so they got to be a core game. They can be an expansion if it mentions the word standalone. We've seen standalone expansions before. Those count. Too Many Bones, good example of something like that, right? Not the original core game, because that was actually the core game, but something like Undertow, for instance, is a standalone expansion. It kind of sits between being an expansion to content that already exists, but the key here is that it's got to be standalone, right? Core game, standalone, that kind of thing. All right. If you see anything on this list that is missing, let me know. You can let me know in the comments down below. If you do so, it's probably the best way to do it, because if you do it, I will know it's tagged to this video, which means I know it's tagged to this poll, which means I can quickly go in, edit it, and make a tweak. So for now, I've only had a couple additions to this list. Everybody else has been A-okay with it. So it's just pretty awesome. So we got a pretty solid list going here. So first one here is you have up to 10 votes maximum. So you can, if you've played 20 games in 2023 and you want to pick your top 10, well, you've got 20 to choose from. So pick your top 10 and vote for them. If you've only played one game and that was a game that was considered your top game from 2023, then you're only voting for one. So basically the range is from 1 to 10. You have to at least vote for one. It's a requirement. So hopefully you've played at least one game from 2023. Now, if we go down to the second question, the second question is the most thematic solo game of 2023. So this will be interesting from the standpoint of, I haven't asked this one before. So, well, actually, that's not true. I have asked this one before in different ways. But what'll make this one really interesting is the fact that individuals that voted for the first question in terms of what their top games were, it's going to be really interesting to see the results as to whether or not the thematic games that are immersive are the ones that are gravitating towards the top of the charts on average, or if it's the opposite, if it's games that are not thematically immersing. So I kind of wanted to see whether being solo gamers inherently means we're always looking for a more immersive experience to bring us back to the table to want to play solo alone, because you are playing a game alone, right? Like, I enjoy playing multiplayer games with friends and stuff, but playing solo allows you to just go, I want to play a game right now, just grab it and play it. But you still have to have that drive to want to actually play it. And so for it to be immersive and thematically immersive is huge. If it's a really, really cool game, you will yank it off the shelf when no one else is around and be like, yeah, I want to play this because I want to see what happens next. I don't care if I don't have my friends here to witness this right now. I want to know what happens next. So, and you got to be thematically drawn into the experience and be immersed by it. So this one's all about that. So it's going to be really interesting to see the difference between what answers we get from this first question and the second question. As we move to the third question, we're getting away from games that have released in 2023. So the first two questions are games that have released in 2023. The third and the fourth questions are about games you've played. So the third question here says your most played solo games. So the games you played most in 2023, but they were released in 2022. And I thought this was a really, really cool idea that an individual in the Discord mentioned. I thought it would be a really awesome one to reference things year on year, because every single year the focus is always, well, what was great from this year, right? And it's just kind of point in time. You maybe played the game a couple times. You haven't really dug into it super in depth, but enough to know you like it. As we all know with board games, you have like an early stage of the board game where, excitement is high hopes, everything else. You kind of have your mid portion of playing the game where maybe it's more grindy or trying to find out if the game has more to offer beyond what you saw at the beginning. And then you kind of have your end state, which is like, well, I hope the end game is decent and it doesn't suck. And I hope this whole thing wasn't a roller coaster upwards and then the end was just garbage. By doing this ask in this poll for your most played solo games in 2023 that were released in 2022, what we're doing is we're inherently finding out whether or not the games that were hot from 2022 are being played in 2023, or they have completely fallen off the radar. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting, because some of these games are going to certainly carry over to this year, and people are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm playing that one still. Like a year and a half later, I'm still chugging away at it, still loving it. And other people are going to be like, yeah, you know what? That game in 2022 that I really liked and I played a bunch, the one that was released in 2022, in 2023, I just stopped playing it. I don't play it anymore. And I feel like that's going to be this is going to be a really interesting one to look at in comparison to last year's top 20 and top 10 lists that I put out, and this question. It's going to be interesting. So we got up to 10 maximum votes in this one as well. And that is the third question. Another really cool one. So the final one here, your solo games that missed the mark. So this is where we have like the first three questions are more on the positive side of the equation. for the most part. The fourth one is more the negative side of the equation. So this is another one where it points to games that were released in 2022. So it can be used as a nice rolling benchmark every single year. So again, when we get into next year's poll, we'll be talking about, well, what's the greatest from 2024, but also how did things go with the 2023 games, right? And we'll be able to consistently keep rolling this forward every single year to kind of see how things are going and whether people really are as hyped and excited about the games they started to play as they were as time went on, right? Or did they fall right off the wagon? So this one is just straight up, what are your solo games that missed the mark? So for you, these are going to be very, very specific to gameplay, right? I mean, we can nitpick a number of different things. You could say, well, the art's not good or blah, 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 all those kind of things. But really, at the end of the day, this one is pinpointing what games were you like excited about? What games did you get that you're looking forward to? Most games you're always excited for when you purchase them or hoping they'll show up from a Kickstarter or a GameFound campaign. But sometimes you start playing them and you're just like, wow, that was not the experience I was hoping. It was dry. It was, missing something. There wasn't much there. Whatever it is, it just didn't hit the mark for you. So if it didn't hit the mark, this is the place to tell me. And so you're going to have up to 10 maximum votes here to pick games that you think lacked from 2022. So between these 4 questions, we've got 2 from 2023 in terms of games that released in 2023, and we got 2 that are coming from games that released in 2022. This should make for a very, very interesting discussion video when this is done. This is going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, every year we'll always be able to take the next year's survey and reference back. And I think that's going to, like I said, it's just going to cause this really cool feedback loop every single year to kind of do some comparisons. So long story short, it's a survey. It's going to take you no time to go through this. The first question here has 100 different games listed. The exact same 100 or something games are on the second question. And then if you come to here, you've got of course, the games that are mentioned in 3 and 4 because they're from 2022, or 2022's list of 100 and something games. And you've got the exact same thing for 4. So you're not going to have to parse through this thing really horribly in order to vote for these. You should be able to just skim it, look for the names that you're looking for, check the boxes, and get out. We really appreciate, or I really appreciate, I should say, your time to put this in, because I think this is going to be extremely fun to see the results on. I'm already seeing results coming in, but I think now, hopefully through this video going out, it's going to just open the doors and things are really going to start churning. And of course, every single year, if there's a lot of interest around this one, to continue to bolster this list in a way that provides value even more beyond this. I mean, I'm absolutely willing. So if you have any other ideas as to other questions you'd like to see asked here, or things you'd like to see added in for a future year, let me know. I'll always keep in the back of my mind that, surveys do take they do take time to do. You still have to take some time to read the question and choose which games. So I don't want to make it so massive that that's painful. But if there's a specific question that could be really beneficial to the solo community, I want you guys to tell me and let me know, because then maybe it needs to be on the list for next year. That's it. I'm going to let it go right there. I probably went way past the time I said I was going to, but I just want to give you guys a very off the top of the head kind of understanding of where I'm kind of at right now in terms of this survey. I'm really excited for this change in general. I really think this is going to allow more people from the community within Rolling Solo to get into this survey and vote for the very first time, because there were so many people that were not part of the Facebook group that would just never get a chance to vote on these things. And I always kind of was like, this is not the way to do it. So we're changing it up, and I'm excited for it. So let me know in the comments down below what you think, and if there's any quirks, you have any issues, whatever your thoughts or comments are, concerns, let me know. Would love to hear feedback. Always trying to do better every single year. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.